All right, so I'm here with Travis, my time Kaufman. How you doing, Travis?
Chilling, man. Just maintaining, holding on with both hands.
Yeah, man. You had a very tough fight with Chris Arreola. Very exciting fight. What have you been up to since the Arreola fight?
Well, it wasn't that tough of a fight.
Yeah.
However, it was a good fight, good heavyweight fight. I thought I won. A lot of people thought I won. I just been in the gym. I had a minor surgery. After the fight, I just had a scope cleaning on my knee. And just recently been back in the gym and training, getting ready for what's next.
Okay. About the Arreola fight, obviously, I had you winning as like a lot of people did. Now that you've had time to like kind of reflect on it, what are your overall thoughts on just how that whole thing played out?
Um, you know, I, my mentality going into the fight was let me do everything I can to make Chris fight a style that he's not used to, and that was back him up. Um, everybody is so used to Chris backing the fighters up, and I felt like if I'm pushing the issue and making it a fight and backing Chris up, there's no way these judges are going to give him the round. Even if I'm not throwing many punches, if I'm backing him up, making him do things he's not used to doing, I'm going to win the round. Um, After the before in like the ninth round, Nazim said to me, he goes, "Don't get too happy because if you don't knock this Joker out, we're going to get robbed." And I knew going in before the decision was read, I had a feeling we were going to get robbed. We were in a big Mexican crowd. Chris has a huge name at the time. Travis Kaufman wasn't really known that well because I was out of the national television for a while since 2009, and um, so I knew that Chris had the bigger name. I had to win, dominate, and win. But I thought I was up far enough to win that fight. However, I took off in the ninth, the 10th and 11th round. 10th round I took off. You can put it over there. 10th round I took off because I was a little winded. It was my first 12-round fight, and I didn't want to blow my load. Um, so I just figured I'd take off. I'm up far enough where I have the lead where I'm capable of. I'm able to take off. Um, 11th round, I had no intentions of taking off. I went out there, got hit with a beautiful left hook by Chris, and it stunned me a little bit. And I'm like, all right, maybe I'm still a little tired. Let me get my legs under me, because I have a great chin. I normally don't get hurt. Um, so I felt, all right, well, let me just take this round off. I'm still up far enough where I could still win this fight even if I take off this round. I took off that round. 12th round, I dominated.
Yeah.
And I hurt him really bad in the 12th round. So I thought I was up far enough where I would have the victory, including the third round where I knocked him down. Um, so going into the after the 12th round, I thought I won 8 rounds of four, being that I took off 2 rounds. Um, I went and I hold on, Daddy's on the phone, baby. I went and I just waited for the judges to score. And when they first said Chris's name, then they said mine. I'm like, oh, they're gonna screw me and give me a draw. This is BS. Then they gave him the decision. I'm like, that's even worse than a draw. So I take nothing away from Chris. He's a personal friend of mine. I love the dude like a brother. Um, but he know he didn't deserve that win. So I felt, well, maybe these judges seen something that I didn't. Let me go home. Let me review the fight because I'm not one that's going to bash judges. That's just not who I am.
Yeah.
Because they have a job to do, and I felt maybe they seen something that everyone else in the crowd and myself didn't see or didn't feel.
Mm.
Um, so I went home. I kicked my kids out of the room. I kicked my fiance out of the room. And when I watch fights, I watch it on mute because I don't want no oohs and ahs to dictate how I feel about that round. Uh, Watching the fight, I had it 8 rounds to 4 for me. I said maybe I'm being biased. Maybe I'm being biased. Let me give him a round. I had it 7 rounds to 5 with the knockdown that scored at 115, 112. Um, like I said, I moved past from that fight. Just so happens, I believe Chris tested positive for weed.
Yeah.
And it just so happened the loss came off of my record anyway, which shouldn't have been there in the first place. So I believe God had a plan anyway for me not to lose that fight anyway. So I don't knock Chris for whatever he does in his personal life. That's his personal life. I don't think weed's a performance enhancer at all, but I will say this: it's illegal. It's illegal as an athlete. I don't think you should partake in that lifestyle. I don't think you should partake in that lifestyle, especially while getting ready for a fight. When you're in your off time, if you want to smoke all the green in the world, smoke it. You know, you're entitled to do that. It's not like he's indulging in cocaine. It's not like he's taking a PED. But when you're a professional athlete and you're an elite athlete, I think you need to, keep your distance from that, from that type of stuff, because as a professional, you're supposed to handle yourself as a professional. And Chris knew he had a fight coming up, and he knew that he was going to get tested, because let's face it, the PBC is the best for testing. They're the best boxing. They're the best network industry right now for boxing. It's free boxing. It's free championship boxing, and they do the best testing there is for boxing. They test you 3 times. They test you the day before the fight. They test you the day of the fight. They test you right before the fight, and they test you right after the fight. So I don't think there's any way of passing a drug test if you were dirty. So like I said, I take nothing away from Chris. He's still my friend. I don't care if it was a PED. I don't care whatever it was, because whatever he does in his personal life is his personal decision. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's still my friend. If he would have took a PED and he lost, or even if he hello.
Yeah. Hello?
Oh, I lost you for a minute.
Okay.
So, anyways, even if can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. You're like fading in and out.
You're in and out, buddy.
Yeah, you are too.
Let me check on this.
Hello?
Hello.
Yeah.
There you go. I can see you now.
Okay, cool.
Hey, there you go. All right. Sorry about that.
It's all good.
So I don't know where I was at, but anyways, I don't want to keep dwelling on the Chris situation.
Yeah.
Like I said, Chris is a personal friend of mine. I'm not going to back him. I feel like I won the fight, and I think at the end of the day, that he was tested positive. Whatever reason it was, whether he smoked or he didn't smoke. I mean, obviously he did smoke. I don't know when he smoked. But whenever it is, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to bash him. He's a personal friend of mine, and whatever he does on his own time is his own decision. It's his own life. I think Chris made an amazing name out of his career as a fighter. He also made a bad name out of himself because people say he doesn't take the sport seriously. But that's not for me to judge him. As I said, as a person, he's a good friend of mine. So off of that subject, I gave my intake on it. But I'm back to 30-1. I'm not 30-2 no more. So I'm not gonna complain.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing,
Absolutely.
Like you said, God probably had a plan for you.
Absolutely.
You know, just a little bit about your background, because that PBC fight actually represented a lot for a lot of people. That was their first time seeing you fight. So,
right.
Just talk about your style as a fighter, and maybe just a little bit of your background.
Well, for people who didn't see me fight, the people who did see me fight, they seen a fighter, like an aggressive type of fighter. And in all reality, that's not my style. I'm a boxer. I'm slick. I can fight southpaw orthodox. But I knew, because I knew Chris personally, and we sparred a bunch of times, I knew if I boxed him, he's going to be real aggressive, and his chances are a lot higher of winning the fight. So my style is, I'm very versatile. I can fight orthodox southpaw. I could be aggressive. I can fight you on the inside, outside, and I can box. I can box circles around people. That night, I was a fighter. I chose to be a fighter because I thought that's what would work best for me. I'm very athletic for a big guy, so my legs are my best asset. And I think it was my second fight back since my first knee surgery. I didn't get to really use my legs as much as I wanted to, but I felt like if I was going to bounce around and do all this pretty stuff, I think it would have gave Chris the edge because I would have been moving backwards. I would have been turning, and yet again he would have been pushing me backwards. And I don't want to give those judges that look. That's what they're used to seeing Chris do. They're used to seeing him back people up, and I figured let me be the aggressor tonight. Let me do something that let me make Chris do something that nobody has ever seen him do. In all Chris's 40-something fights, they've never seen Chris back up. Even against Klitschko, Chris was coming forward. I
Yeah.
made Chris back up all 12 rounds. And maybe the 11th round he came forward, I think. But all 12 rounds, I was the aggressor. I pushed him back, and I fought. And I made it a dog fight, and I just kept throwing punches. And I was very busy, and hey, maybe I wasn't as accurate, but I was busy, and I was nonstop. And I showed what I was capable of doing. I didn't let all my tools out the bag that night. I didn't feel like I needed to. I felt like I did enough to win that fight. And each fight, my style would change. I could fight a guy southpaw the entire night, depending on who I'm fighting. Um, I could I could box a guy southpaw orthodox, depending on who I'm fighting. So it just determines who I'm fighting, and that's just what it is. And I'm very versatile. I think I'm something. Even though they only seen that fight of a lot of people only seen that fight of me and Chris Arreola,
Yeah.
a lot of people really haven't seen nothing yet, because I really believe I'm what the heavyweight division has been looking for. I could punch, I could box. I'm a counter puncher. I'm a boxer. We have Deontay Wilder, who's the heavyweight champion of the world. He has one style, and that's power. He has nothing else. Deontay Wilder has power. He's not a decent. He's not. Really, he's learning. He's learning on the go. He's
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
green yet, and I take nothing from Deontay Wilder. I give him all the credit in the world, because if you have this guy like this who just put on a pair of gloves for the first time, what was it, 7-8 years ago?
Yeah.
Not only that, not only was he the Olympian, a bronze medalist in the Olympics, he's also now 35-0 with 34 knockouts. That says a lot about this man. You know what I'm saying? From becoming from a nobody and learning as he go on, and still, so he has a lot of power. I think a lot of people have been fighting Deontay Wilder wrong. I'm still on that fight. I'm still a little tossed up as far as who am I going to pick for Deontay Wilder or Povetkin.
Reckon,
I
yeah.
think I like Povetkin in the fight. However, I don't think Povetkin has been looking good as of lately. So I mean, in all reality, that's a toss up for me, that fight. But as far as I go, I could fight any style. Like a guy like a Deontay Wilder, I'm gonna take Deontay Wilder and make it a street fight. I'm gonna take him like he's back in Reading, Pennsylvania, in the Sixth Ward, and we're in an alleyway fighting. If it's another guy, Lucas Brown, who's a PED user, that's the type of guy I box. It depends on whoever I'm fighting.
How
Uh,
about a guy like Luis Ortiz?
Luis Ortiz, I'm not. I'm actually. I would love to fight him, but I wouldn't give that out. I wouldn't give that information out, because
All right.
I really believe I'm going to be fighting him very soon. So
Really?
if I'm telling you how I'm going to be fighting Luis Ortiz, he might be watching this right now, and he might say, "Oh, that's what you're going to do? Okay, Papi, I got something for you." So I don't want to. I really don't want to say what I'm going to do, but I would love to fight Luis Ortiz. A lot of people are ducking and dodging him. If Al Heyman wants me to fight Luis Ortiz, let's fight him. I mean, I think
That's pretty admirable, because most heavyweights don't even want to say the guy's name, let alone say they want to fight him.
listen, man, I'm not scared of nobody. I've always said I'll fight anybody, King Kong, anybody. Just so happens he's King Kong. That's his nickname. But that night, I'll be the World Trade Centers. The World Trade Centers took down King Kong. I'm going to be the World Trade Centers. So if me and Luis Ortiz look, I like Luis Ortiz, in my personal opinion, because I'm very humble, and I call it like I see it. I personally believe, besides myself, out of all the other heavyweights out there that are in the division right now, they're in the top 10, top 15, I believe Luis Ortiz has the best style. I think he's very good, and I take nothing away from him. However, I believe I'm going to be the World Trade Centers and the helicopters that are shooting him down. While King Kong's trying to climb those trade centers, he falls, and he's going to fall. And I really like. I'm not a fan of Luis Ortiz. I'm not a fan of any other fighter that's in the heavyweight division right now, because And I think that takes away from me.
Yeah.
But I do like him. I will say I do like him, and I think he's very talented. Um, I take nothing away from him. I think he's very hungry. I think he's very disciplined. I would love to fight him. I mean, a lot of people are dodging him. That's why a lot of people don't give BY a lot of credit, Brian Jennings credit, because people say, "Oh, Brian Jennings, he got a gift to get to where he was at." Brian Jennings earned his way up to where he was at. BY beat everybody that was put in front of him that he and he
Hello?
beat him.
Yeah.
And he and can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. All right.
Sorry, I was saying about Brian Jennings how a lot of people don't give him credit. Uh, Brian Jennings was just outclassed that night with Luiz Ortiz. Brian Jennings is like another Wilder who's learning as he goes. He just put a pair of gloves on for the first time in seven
Yeah, he's
years,
a late starter
and
as
he
well.
got to where he was. And he's the type of guy who's learning as he goes. So you got to give BY credit because there's heavyweights who's been doing this their whole life who won't dare to step in the ring with Luiz Ortiz, who's a dangerous fighter, and they're avoiding him. Brian Jennings said, "I'm gonna take that challenge," and that's one thing I respect about Brian Jennings because when there was guys who were afraid to hop in the ring with, and whether you want to call it afraid or not business right, it didn't make
Yeah.
enough sense. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Brian Jennings, it made dollars for him, but it also was he's the type of guy, and I know him personally. He's the type of guy that challenged himself. In order to beat the best, in order to be the best, you have to prove that you're the best by beating the best. And at that time, Luis Ortiz was the best, and he still is one of the best. And I'm in that same position. I feel like everybody's saying King Kong's the best. Louis King Kong Ortiz is the best. I believe Travis Kaufman is the best. Um, I have one blemish on my record, but that doesn't make me for who I am. I learned from that loss, and I'm a much better fighter than what I ever was. I'm more disciplined than I ever was. Um, so yeah, I would love to fight a Luis Ortiz. I would love to fight a Alexander Povetkin. I would love to fight a Lucas Brown. Now Ruzic Shagai, the only way he's going to fight is over in Russia, and I don't know if I want to take that fight unless the money's right. Plus, he has hepatitis, so not to talk junk about him. That's I'm not one to talk junk, but I don't know if I'll fight him. I don't think there's enough money that would make me fight him. Um, However, there's a lot of guys out there. Alexander Povetkin, who I'm not Alexander Povetkin. Arthur Spilka, who I'm a personal friend. He's a personal friend of mine. I would love to fight him.
I would like that fight a lot, actually.
I would love to fight. That's something that's been tossed up as a name that's been thrown out on Team Heyman, Al Heyman, from Al Heyman and them, but it's not something that's a go-ahead yet. I think first thing first is to take care of Travis Kaufman and make sure I'm 100% healthy. It's weird saying this, and I've always said this, and I think this is our first time really interviewing with each other.
Yeah.
But I'm still young in the heavyweight division. It's crazy. Like I turned pro at 20 years old, and I always said I'm a baby in the heavyweight division. Now I'm not a baby in the division no more, but I'm still young in the heavyweight division. So it's still weird for me saying this. I have many of years left in me. I'm 30-1 with 22 knockouts, and I would like to think I have another 6-7 years left of this. So I'm still very young. So the first thing is to take care of Travis Kaufman. I have some minor things that are going on with my body that I have to take care of, and and that's the first thing. That's first thing. So, we'll be talking to Al Haim within the next week or two. Hopefully, we have something lined up. We had something lined up, and it just they called me about fighting Dominic Brazil April 30th, and that's a fight I would love. However, I think that's kind of backpedaling a little bit, even though I like Brazil, but he doesn't. He was getting demolished by Amir Mansour.
You're trying to step it up at this point. Competition.
I am. I'm trying. I'm trying to fight the best out there, and Brazil is just beginning. I like Brazil. He's another guy that's learning as he goes, and for me, that's taking a step backwards. And nothing against Brazil, because I'm not one to talk trash. Nothing against him, but they wanted me to fight him April 30th. I wanted to fight. I was like, yeah, why not? But now Zim Richardson wouldn't have been able to come to camp till April 18th, and that's a week of training. That just wouldn't work. It was also in his hometown, so it just wouldn't work. So hopefully we're looking at the end of May, June, maybe, and then we'll go from there.
You mentioned Nazim Richardson, and you started working with him. I believe it was 2014, right?
Um, I've known Nazim since I was a kid, since I was an amateur, and I always knew me and my dad would eventually split ways. My dad started me from the amateurs to the pro, and I knew eventually we would split ways because we butt heads so much. Um, and hold on one second. Yeah, Daddy, all right, love you. Go. Sorry, my son.
So,
Um, so anyways, leave that open. Um, so anyways, I I've known Nazim since I was an amateur because I was ranked number one in the country as an amateur, and his kids were in the Olympics, and I've always known them. And I've always said if I ever when I turn pro, I would love to work. There's two trainers I would love to work with. If it isn't my dad, it's Nazim Richardson or Barry Hunter.
okay.
Um, Nazim Richardson was just more convenient because he's closer. He's closer to home. He's an hour away. When Barry Hunter's about 2.5 hours away.
DC, right?
Um, yeah, he's in DC.
Okay.
So for me, Nazim was just the better fit, and Nazim is very picky on who he works with. Number one, he treats you like you're his own son, like your family, which makes it a little tougher for me because I tried to part ways with my dad because of being family. The fight and the bicker. Me and Nazim don't fight at all because I have so much of a respect level for him. Not saying I don't respect my dad because I do. Um, but the best thing I've learned. Oh, sorry. Back to I started working with Nazim. My first actual training, my first actual started training with him was probably. I started training with him in the beginning of 2014, but I didn't really train. I started training with him, but then I got injured. I was off for 19 months then. I tore my ACL. So I was off for 19 months. And then I worked with him a little bit, getting ready for my first fight back when I fought. I can't even think of the guy's name. The guy in not Atlantic City, New Jersey.
Oh, I forgot his name too. I think
The 300 pound guy. Then I trained with him a little bit more to get ready for Epifanio Mendoza. And then we got this call about Chris. Now Nazim, what he wanted to make sure my knee was 100% before we took that fight with Chris. But I told Nazim, I said, I'm ready for this fight, and I really meant that. And I told him I could beat Chris with one leg. I said it's something I want because sometimes opportunities come once in a lifetime.
yeah.
Al Heyman was offering me this fight, and I felt like the best way for me to prove myself is to take this fight. So our really first training camp was the fight for Chris Arreola.
Wow. How has
Yeah.
he like helped you become better as a fighter, Nazim?
You know what's crazy? My dad, Nazim will tell you this too. Nazim hasn't taught me anything. What he's done with me is everything he doesn't try to, not that he hasn't taught me anything, he taught me a lot. Let me rephrase that, sorry. He doesn't try to change anything about me. He changes nothing. Because one thing he says to me is that, Trav, your father gave you all these guns. He's like, he gave you a little 22, a little a 32, a little 38. You got a little 45. You got 9. You got a bazooka. Your dad gave you all these guns. My job is to show you which one to use and how to use it. He says, my dad gave me all these tools to use. I just don't know which one to use at certain times because, you have these guys who are so naturally gifted. And it's like, for instance, if I have a whole bunch of guns sitting right next to me and somebody comes to rob my house and they have their gun, what gun do I want to use? Do I want to pick up the shot? No, hold up. I'm going to pick up this little. No, let me pick up this. By that time, I'm already dead. And that happens with a lot of naturally gifted, talented fighters where they're always thinking too much. They think too much instead of letting their natural ability pick up. And the biggest thing I could take from Nazim, and I can't say this for every other fighter he's trained, but the biggest thing I could take from him is that he really taught me to believe in myself. Because there was times where I doubt myself. And even though my father has always believed in me, I felt like it's just my dad. He's supposed to believe in me. Why not? Like I got biologically I have 3 kids of my own, and I think no matter what, I'm always supposed to believe in them and tell them that you're good. You're going to be this. You're going to be that. Keep pushing yourself. I think as a father, that's what you do. So, not that my father's never believed in me, but Nazim, what he does, he always gives you positive reinforcement, and he makes you believe in yourself, which makes you a better fighter all around. When you believe in yourself, listen, man, if you believe you can move a mountain, you're gonna move that mountain. I don't care what it takes, you're gonna move that mountain. And that's the best thing I got from Nazim. It wasn't about, and he's really big on defense. You know, he always has his little noodle or his towels that he's swinging at me. We could be walking to the to Texas Roadhouse or some diner. He has his towel on him and he's swinging at me. I gotta be on point at all times.
You gotta set those
So
punches.
yeah. So you always be prepared. And one thing he always tells me is protect yourself at all times. He says, look, even after that 12th round, that bell rings, when you walking back to the locker room, keep your hands up. He said, because the crowd might be mad at you. So like I said, the biggest thing, he's just a huge positive reinforcement. And I think being that was my first actual training camp with Nazim, I think each one's going to get a little better. You're going to see a little bit of more progress from me. You're going to see each fight I'll gradually grow as a fighter. And I believe I'm an elite fighter, but then you're going to see the more I work with Nazim, as far as training camp goes, the more you will see me. Trav, I'm on the phone, please. The more you will see me become a championship level fighter. And I believe I'm championship level, but to maintain at that level and prove to everyone else that I belong there and that I'm going to stay there. I think that's what Nazim will bring to the table.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, Nazim's done it before with other guys. You know, Bernard Hopkins had, what, 20, 21, 20 middleweight title defenses?
He had a lot of them. I don't know how many he had, but he had a lot.
It was the most. I think it was the most middleweight history. So I mean, you definitely got the right guy in your corner for that. One thing a lot of people probably don't know, the people who are just now finding out about you, they didn't know that most people probably don't even know that you were the #1 ranked amateur at heavyweight when you were coming up.
Yeah, my record was 52-12 as an amateur. Probably should have been more like 60-4. But you know, I think the amateurs, there's more politics than the pros. I had a very short amateur career, but I was very good. I remember my amateur career only lasted like 5 years, and I had my first real amateur fight when I was like 14. And I remember when I was in training camp for my fight in 2009 when I had my loss to Tony Grano. I remember being in training camp watching my first amateur fight, and I'm like, Dad, what the hell did you see in me? Like, why'd you keep pushing me? He said, it was your heart. He said, your heart. He goes, now I believe I have a lot of talent, but back then, like, because I see these 14-year-old kids that come into the gym that have all this skill in the world. I'm like, I know I wasn't on that level. So I'm like, Dad, what the hell did you see in me? And he's like, you just had all the heart in the world. Because, you know, I would spar grown men, 30-something-year-old men. I didn't care. And at the time, being 14 years old, I used to smoke cigarettes. I didn't take it serious. I was just a little wild kid. My mom, you know, my dad was a single father, so I would live with my dad. But I wanted to go with my mom because the grass was greener on my mom's side. I was allowed to do whatever I wanted. So I was allowed to smoke cigarettes, do whatever I wanted. So at the time, being 14 years old, I was smoking cigarettes. I didn't really take it serious. And so I always asked my dad, what the hell did you see in me? He goes, you had a heart. And, you know, once I started taking it serious, I seen my talent start to kick in. And, you know, when I was 17 is when I quit smoking cigarettes. And I seen my talent start to kick in once I started taking it serious. And hold on 1 second. Come on, please, okay. I'm on the phone. Sorry about that.
Oh,
I seen my talent kick in, and you know, I ended up becoming ranked #8 in the country, and I ended up going to Northern Michigan University as an amateur. I was up there, you know, the Olympic Education Center. I had a full scholarship for college. Being a little knucklehead, I ended up dropping out after 2 months. School was never for me. So I went back home and I really dedicated myself. And in 2005, I was undefeated internationally. I fought international tournaments and won every one in 2005. And I knew like, damn, like this is serious, and that's what made me become number one in the country. Those international tournaments. So I had a very short-lived career because when I was 19 years old, I fought in another international tournament. I fought the 2004 Olympic silver medalist, some guy from Azerbaijan, and it was the Azerbaijan USA duel. And I beat him, smashed him. And I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to go anywhere with these amateur things because the next tournament I went to, they ended up robbing me because they wanted this guy Mike Wilson from whatchamacallit. I fought him in the 2005 pound nationals, and I ended up getting robbed against him. And I'm like, man, look, I'm turning pro, Dad. I don't want to do this amateur stuff no more. And my kid's mom was pregnant with my first son at the time. And, as an amateur, being number one in the country, I was only getting a stipend fee of $500 a month.
Yeah.
And that's not enough to pay my bills and take care of my kids. And so I turned pro on January 26th of 2006 or January 31st. I forget what day it was. But anyways, I believe it was January 26th of 2006. I made my pro debut against this guy, Jerome Boyer, I believe his name was. He had like 300 amateur fights, but he did like 10 years in prison for a murder charge. And I had my first amateur fight in Glen Burnie, Maryland, and I knocked him out in the second round, but he hurt me so bad in the first round, and I think it was more nerves than anything because I don't remember the first round at all. The whole Olympic team was there, and they're cheering me on. And first round I got hit because I always used to dance on my toes a lot. And I must have crossed my feet at the time, and he hit me with a right hand, and I forget that whole round. I actually forget the whole fight. And then the second round, I ended up knocking him out. And I look back and I'm like, man, thank God for my natural ability set in because my mind was gone. I didn't remember the fight. And then I watched the fight, and I'm like, damn, I got hurt. I don't even remember that. And so I had a very short-lived amateur career, but I progressed very, very quickly.
That's awesome. You said earlier that you think you have about 6 or 7 years in the boxing game left. When those 6 or 7 years conclude, and if it comes time to hang up the gloves, what do you want people to remember Travis Kaufman for?
Well, of course I want to be a heavyweight champ of the world. I mean, that's number one. But for me personally, I mean, it's not about what the people outside of the ring remember me for. I just want my kids to remember me for to be a great father, and that's bigger to me than anyone else meaning anything for what they believe in me as. But I do a lot for my community. I feed the homeless every year. So I don't want to. My thing was I didn't always just want to be remembered as a boxer, as Travis the boxer, or Travis the champ. I wanted to be remembered as more than that. Someone who did for his community. Someone who just left a great name for themselves and always never gave up. I mean, because I've been in points in my life, injuries. I had 3 hand surgeries. I had 2 knee surgeries. And I'm the type of guy where, I hit rock bottom. And most people that hit rock bottom like that give up. And I didn't. And thank God I didn't give up because I'm in this position now. So I just want to be remembered as like a more of a success story. Someone who like if you don't know me and you always just hear my story, and for me it's more personal for kids to always remember never to give up, to always keep chasing your dreams no matter how hard it gets, because Michael Jordan, he didn't know what it was like to be successful until he failed first. First you got to fail. You have to fail. And that's anybody that's great. And be one exception, Floyd Mayweather. He didn't have to lose. but there's you learn from this is what I say about boxing, and this is one thing I always tell people what I love so much about boxing is like life. In life, You know, in boxing, you have a record. You know, my record's 30-1 with 22 knockouts. That loss never goes away. Never in boxing. It's like life. I was 18 years old. I got arrested for selling drugs. I'm a felon for the rest of my life.
It's true.
That record never goes away. Never. So it's a matter of, do you let that record beat you up and you just keep losing in life? You just keep becoming more of a felon? Do you keep making more mistakes? Or do you say, fuck that record, I'm going to become better and be better than what anybody else is going to say I'm going to be? And that's just like boxing. People wipe you off. After you lose, people forget about you. And unfortunately, that's what's bad about boxing. And I think that's what's so great about Al Heyman. You know, a lot of people hate on Al Heyman, but Al Heyman, he don't give up after you lose a fight. You know, he keeps giving you opportunities to prove yourself. So boxing is like life. I had that one loss on my record. I could have just been forgotten about. I could have gave up and never picked myself back up and just went and got a 9-to-5 working at being a felon. I probably would have been working at McDonald's or something. Unfortunately, nothing against people who work at McDonald's, but that's probably where I would have been. But I decided I'm not going to give up. I'm going to keep pushing myself, and I'm going to be somebody. I refuse to be a nobody. So I kept pushing myself, and now I'm 30-1. My first loss, I was 18-0, and I had my loss, and then I was 18-1, and then I pushed myself. I had 12 wins back to back, and over a period of time, because I just didn't. For the first couple of years, I just didn't take my life serious. But I decided, do I want to keep going down this path of not living a serious life, like let life just beat me up, or do you keep pushing and become great? Because you are only what you make yourself out to be. If you continue to, so that's what I want to be known as. Back to your question, what do you want to be known as? I want to be known as somebody who keeps pushing. I want to be known as somebody who just keeps pushing and doesn't give up.
All right. Well, thank you, Travis. Obviously, you know, you got a great head on your shoulders. You seem like you're someone that could represent the heavyweight division well. So I wish you nothing but luck and just a lot of success.
Thank you.
Any message to the boxing world?
No, just, you know, keep staying tuned for me. Hopefully we have announcements soon. You know, I stay in the gym. I haven't really been much in the boxing gym lately because of I've just been trying to get my body in better shape, lifting and eating proper. And because Nazim is real busy in training camp with Steve Cunningham getting ready for his world title.
Yeah.
So I just been doing real small stuff, and just trying to stay in somewhat good a shape to get ready for what's next. And just stay tuned because you guys will have an answer soon on when something's coming up, hopefully. Hopefully it's in the very, very near future. Hopefully it's something big, whether it's Luiz Ortiz, whether it's Arthur Spilka, whether it's Deontay Wilder, whether it's Princess Charles Martin. It doesn't matter. I want to fight, and I want to fight the best out there. And you know, I believe I am the American dream. I believe I'm what the heavyweight division has been missing, because I'm very versatile. You know, that's just what it is. And thank you for doing this interview, and I appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Travis. I hope to have you on soon when I'm not exhausted and I have more words in me.
Sorry, I could ramble. Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. But thank you for coming on. Whenever you have your next fight, we'll talk then again. All right.
All right. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care, Travis.